Shazia Dean.
How you doing?
Freezing.
Oh my gosh. Is it
Freezing.
cold in LA?
Yes. I mean, cold relatively,
What's
like
the temperature?
50s, 60s.
30. It's in the 30s here.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's gonna go down to like 17 on Tuesday.
What is your go-to temperature in the house?
I like it at 70. There's
Wow, really?
there's conflict in the house. Stuart likes to sleep at like between 65 and 68.
Mm,
I like 70 to 73. Depends.
just like Pakistan.
You know, I gotta keep it real.
How
I have
about
to
you?
stay true to my roots. What about you?
Um, I think I like it more on the hotter side. I don't like being cold.
Yeah.
Like,
We're not built for that. They see people aren't built for the cold. Imagine, I mean, when you lived in New Hampshire, like, were you shoveling snow? How did that go?
yeah, you know what's funny? Like, I grew up in New Hampshire. I never thought about the cold at all. Like, you kind of just adapt to it. Like, ignorance is bliss. And then when I left New Hampshire and then I went back years later, I was like, I'm freezing. I can't take this. So
Yeah,
I think if you grow up in it, it's different.
agreed. I think humidity might be the same.
Yeah. So if you grew up in like Alaska or the North Pole, like you were like an Eskimo, you'd be like, oh my God, I live in an igloo. It'd be totally normal for you.
Have you ever been in an igloo?
No, I'd like to Airbnb one possibly in the future.
Yeah, me too. That would
Have-
be really cool. Even though we hate the cold, it's supposed to be warm in an igloo. It like traps the heat, right?
I don't know. That sounds right. I'm just gonna go with that, whatever you just said. That an igloo traps heat.
Maybe someone knows and they can let us know.
Do you think there's like homeless igloos, like homeless Eskimos with like cardboard igloos?
I mean, do they make it? What do they make them out of? You would think
I, I
homeless people would all have homes if they could make igloos.
yeah, it's true.
Are there homeless people in cold places where igloos are an option? That's another question I have, if anyone has an answer to that.
Well, these are the universe's unanswered questions that could perhaps be explored in a Netflix documentary.
And do only little, like shorter, like vertically challenged people live in igloos, or are igloos something you crawl into, or are they at like a 6 foot, like do they meet all the regulations from the fire department?
Yes. Who's gonna sleep after watching the first 5 minutes of this? I mean, these are the that nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody cares to ask. I feel like we live in a world where people just accept what they're told and nobody asks. Nobody asks questions about igloos.
Some groundbreaking stuff is being discussed today. I can already feel most people venture into the Iowa caucuses or the Trump or abortion. We're touching upon igloos and midgets and igloos. What are they made
Whoa,
out of?
whoa, whoa. Hey, 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 hey,
Oh,
hey.
sorry. I
I
didn't.
didn't call them that. I said do only vertically challenged people.
It's good to know.
It's a blanket term. It
Yeah.
makes it's an inclusive term for people who live in smaller igloos if there is difference there if there are certain different sizes of them.
So like a bigger igloo than like a tinier igloo,
Yeah, I
essentially.
don't know. I feel like in my mind, I remember like I grew up watching Chilly Willy the Penguin. It's a cartoon on
Yeah.
when I was little. And he was a tiny penguin who lived in a smaller igloo. So in my mind, it's either smaller humans or little penguins that live in.
Well, you can go even further. Like, are there like dog houses made out of igloos, like little ice cubes for dog houses?
Ooh. You think you'd have to have one for your dog. If you love your pet, you would give them one. If you don't love your pet, then you let them sleep out in the snow.
You even have a dog. Maybe you have a walrus.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, hmm.
I think in India, people, like the other countries, people have exotic pets that we wouldn't have in America. Like people have bears as pets in India.
Oh,
That's what my that's what my dad told me. He said he had a neighbor who had a bear, like on a leash, and he will walk it.
what's funny though? I'm being dead serious. I live in Florida, and one time we went to the zoo. My mom was like, "Oh, there's a zoo down there, like, we should go to the zoo." We're like, "There's a zoo here?" It was in somebody's backyard, and this guy just captured a bunch of animals and put them in cages, and it was like deer, and like there was actually a bear that he had, and it's like stuff. I was like, this is clearly illegal, and we just like walked around this guy's backyard, and he had like things in cages. That's why, like, when you read about people having like alligators and stuff, it's like a normal thing. Where that, that documentary that came out with that Tiger King guy.
Carol Baskins is in Florida with her, like, whatever she calls it, rescue, her tiger rescue.
Yeah, so people have this. This is a reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I'm not interested in exotic pets. Are you?
I am in theory. Like when I see like these TikToks, like I saw a TikTok and there was like a feral cat and it was like this wild, it was between like a lynx and like a bobcat or something. And I was like, oh, that's cool to have this little cat running around. And then the cat was like really protective and it was like, you're like, oh my God, this cat's gonna rip out your throat. It's like, oh my God, maybe it's not wise to have a cat like that.
Yeah, no, animals are animals. I mean, unless they're bred to be, well, fancy cats. Guilty. They're cats. They're going to rip your stuff up. They're going to, you need to play with them. You can't just have them. So I would think a cat like that would require a lot of area to play in so that it could exercise its wild side. And, you'd need to, it would be a lot of upkeep, which is why it doesn't appeal to me. It's because I don't have that kind of time
How many cats do you have?
to.
They don't require any time.
They're Persian cats. They sleep all day. Yeah.
I'm filtering my thoughts. I'm trying not to say stuff. Persian cats that sleep all day because that's interesting because Persians are pretty hard workers.
Oh yeah, true. Not in the cat kingdom. They're not at all. I
Do
have lots of cats. I've been a cat person. I was on that crazy documentary called My Cat from Hell.
no,
Oh
what is my cat from
my
hell?
gosh. We had that. Do you remember Bowie? Do you remember well, you remember me when I had Pandora and Christmas, and everyone called Christmas Blanco Diablo because he would attack people. And then I had Bowie, who was the same breed because I was trying to replace Christmas. And he was biting my kids. He was a wild cat. He needed the time and the space to be exercised. They wanted me to build all these like shelves so he could creep around the house, and he needed to be up high and look down low. And so I called the show. I was like, listen, I think like my cat's a nightmare and my husband's going to make me get rid of it if it doesn't stop biting my kids. And in true Hollywood form, it came out and they made Stuart and I look like the crazy people, not the cat.
Really? That's
Um,
hilarious.
oh my gosh, I got so much negative fan mail, but I'm like, you know what? It was, no matter how they painted it, that cat was attacking us. I'm a cat person. I have cats now. They're great. I love them. But yeah.
Do they sound like a cat whisperer to come over your house
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and
Yeah. I forget his name. He's got the big mustache. He's on Animal Planet. I can't think of his name.
did he cure your cat?
No, no, we had to rehome the cat, Tarun. We had to rehome the cat. It wasn't a match for us.
He just gave up. He was like, you know what? We can't do anything. You guys have to
I put up all the shelving. We played with him a half hour a day, but he saw my kids, I think, as his competition. And I think he genuinely just didn't like the kids. And so, I found a home where it was a woman in Silver Lake who worked from home and stayed home all day and had no other animals and had no children. She was a perfect candidate for Bowie.
And she took him?
She took him.
And Bowie ended up killing her weeks
Yes,
later.
yes. But by that time, I had nothing to do with any of
Uh,
it.
do you want to plug this docu-series? Like, where can we watch Shazia's cat adventures on TV?
I don't know. It's just my cat from hell. I don't even know what season I was on. It was years ago. This is pre-COVID. Feels like a lifetime ago, anything before COVID.
Maybe there's a movie in there somewhere, like a Stephen King movie.
What did we do before COVID?
No, no, about your cat. About this
Oh,
your cat, your nightmare cat. And it like kills people and you just want to rehome it because
I
you
just, yeah. Yeah, but yeah. I do love my cats though, but there's certain animals that belong in nature, not in people's homes. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I used to have there was this I used to work in an agency and I used to walk this one dog every day. There's like the shelter right next to the agency. So during my lunch hour, I go walk this dog. And it brought me so much peace of mind to have this dog because it was always excited to see me. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna adopt this dog because I was like, I have a job now. I was like, I can figure this out. And then one time I went back to the shelter and it was gone. Somebody took
Oh,
the dog. And I was like, oh, I guess that's that. So,
well, I think the right dog finds its person always.
mm.
So when there's a dog out there for you and you're ready again, your dog will find you. Just, in a similar way where you're like, I wasn't even looking for a dog, and then blah 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 happened.
Or were you looking for your cats?
No, well, the second one I was, but the first one I got from a shelter, and uh, the ones I have currently. I've had lots of cats that have lived. I mean, I had a cat that lived 20, our family cat lived 23 or 24 years.
Oh my
So
God, that's a long time, isn't it?
a very long time. But, we spoil our cats. They live a good life. My cats eat good. They have scrambled eggs. They have like pumpkin puree. I give them raw chicken.
Right.
And,
I'm definitely allergic to cats, so I think your cat would end up killing me in some.
so was my husband, but I just trapped him for like
Is it
3 months.
really?
And
He's
he
still
was like very, very sick for like 3 months. Every day he was taking allergy pills. And then his body like regulated itself to not have the cat allergy anymore. So
You just
it's okay. Look, the human body is amazing. It'll adapt. So if I trapped you in a room with a cat for 3 months, I promise you would get over your allergy.
you should not be a doctor.
I mean, unless you have some autoimmune disorder that keeps you from
You
like
know
building
what?
antibodies.
You are definitely allergic to cats, so here's a solution. We're gonna trap you in this room with this cat for the next 3 months.
Doesn't that sound great?
One of
Yeah.
you will come out alive.
I mean, not to be controversial, but isn't that technically what vaccines are? Like, here you go, you don't want this, but we're going to give it to you in a smaller form and you're going to build an antibody to it, and then you'll be fine forever. It's a very similar concept.
Shazia.
No.
This is Texas speaking. The great state of Texas. Trapping people in rooms and cats and you know, you could be onto something because my brother's a cat and every time I go there it's less. I was really sick and then but I'm also like hyper aware though. So I don't know if I'm like subconsciously keeping my distance from the cat. So
No, if you have an allergy, just because the dander is everywhere. It's not about being next to the cat, it's about being in a room that a cat has been in. So you probably are building a good immunity to it. You should go over there more often.
do you feel like when you got married, because I'm not married, like you would like compromise like stuff like that, like cats and stuff. And because I have a friend who had a dog, who got a dog, and her husband was allergic to the dog. And she was like, well, we're getting the dog. And I feel like there's a lot of more so the guys to compromise for the to the wife, to be honest with you.
I think it took a few years before I was like, no, we're gonna try this. But I'm always open. Like, let's just try it. Like even moving to Texas, I was like, that was not my idea. You know, I have a career, a life. I've spent my whole life in California.
Mhm.
But I was like, all right, well, if it doesn't work in a year, we'll just move back. Like nothing is permanent, you know. I feel like you got to take risks and try things in life because you can always go back to the way it was. Usually depends.
No, you're absolutely right. I always think about that because sometimes I don't want to live in LA anymore, but I'm like, where else would I go? The only place I wanna I that seems like very new to me is Hawaii. Like this seems totally different. But then I ran it by my dad and he's like, no, there's a lot of crime there. You're gonna die. And I was like, oh, really?
Depends on the island you're on, but yeah, I think you would blend in. You know where I want to move, and I've been researching lately?
Or
It's gonna go back to the igloo thing.
Dallas.
Iceland.
Oh, Iceland. Why?
I read that it's one of, or it's the most safest place to live, and the healthcare is amazing. The schools are phenomenal. The education is good. Like there's zero crime. I don't know. So I started looking at houses in Iceland a couple weeks ago, and my kids were like, "Are you moving us to Iceland?"
Well, are you that scared of crime in Texas? Isn't Texas pretty safe? Everybody's armed in Texas, right? Aren't your kids like running around with guns and stuff?
My kids running around with guns. No,
No, but isn't it, my point is, isn't Texas a safe state to live in?
I think it all depends on where in Texas you are. And yes, it does feel safer knowing that people are not just armed, but they're trained in how to be armed, at least in most parts of Texas, where if you're in a restaurant or in a public place, you know that if there was going to be an active, you know, person coming trying to do bad stuff, that there would be so many people that could take that person down the second they even pulled something out. So there is some peace in that, but you know, it's controversial.
I mean, I feel like you're safer in Texas than Iceland, because who's going to have a gun or a bag of ice to
There's
throw?
nothing happening. It's like, who has beef with Iceland? Who? What country is like, oh my gosh, those Icelandic people, like screw them, screw their policies. Like what policies or politics do you hear about? People are like, oh, Iceland? Ew, no. I don't think anybody wants anything to do with Iceland. I've never even heard anyone talk about it. So I was like, maybe that's where I want to go. And if the aliens were to like land, like they're saying, like Iceland, they want to like know about people in LA, celebrities, or like people in Vegas. Why are you gambling? Like, what is this all about?
Well, people don't know. You actually lived in Switzerland, right?
Yeah,
What was that like?
that was, well, I live very close to CERN, which is energetically has
What is Stern? I don't know what Stern is.
CERN is where that's where they do all those experiments where they're trying to find the God particle in that giant collider. Oh, look, I'm sweating. In that giant collider.
I don't even know what that is.
You
So,
don't know. You don't know about the experiments they're doing in CERN. They did the big
no,
Shiva. They did the Shiva ceremony on the rooftop.
because I feel like you have that life experience already. Like you've lived like in different places, like Switzerland and Iceland and or
I haven't. I haven't lived in. I lived in Blaine, Washington, like Vancouver. I lived in Switzerland for a little bit. I think that was at a time where I didn't have children. I didn't. My Stuart and I weren't married yet, and I don't think I was quite done leaving LA. I still like what we talked about last time. You're like, oh, do you miss the lifestyle right now? No, but back then, yeah, I did. I had to get back.
because I'm dead serious because I feel like life is so short and yeah, but then I get bored wherever I am. Like I get bored. Doesn't matter. It's like having a job. You're like, oh, this is a good job or a relationship. Like this is a cool new relationship. But then after a while, it like wears off. You're like, this is the same shit over and over again.
Are
So
you always craving the next new thing?
I think so. Sometimes I am. Like I know I do that with clothes sometimes. Like I'll be like, oh my God, I gotta. And I feel like it's my modeling days, my like you try on like these nice clothes all the time, and you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'm not really modeling like I used to. So like now I'll buy like random shit. Like, and you have that dopamine rush, like when you have like a package comes, and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna get this thing. And it's sitting in my closet. I'm like, when am I gonna wear this shit? And look at me, I'm dressed like a hobo right now. Like I'm not even wearing nice clothes now. But I have that excitement to like it's like the Amazon thing, right?
So you have a closet that's full of clothes that you don't necessarily wear, and you end up going for the same exact things, and
Well,
not you're keeping the new stuff pristine.
I
Is that
always
what you're saying?
I always throw one thing away when I get something new. So I'm always like giving away
Okay.
nice
I'm very similar. That's why I asked. I give away a lot of stuff and then I'm like, oh, I need that. But I like thrifting and I like vintage. And so at least I'm in that recycle. Like I feel good about like the fact that I'm constantly giving and then I'm taking and I have certain friends where we exchange clothes and it's a good little system.
I can't imagine you in a thrift shop for some reason. I feel
Me?
yeah, I don't know why I can't imagine you going through uh Walmart thrift shop or whatever in the back, like, oh my God, this is a sale for sale rack. I can't imagine you doing that. I don't know why.
Hey, I didn't say Walmart. I just, but I go to the Goodwill, especially if I'm in a town that like, I feel like, ooh, there's going to be some treasures. Like, I was just in Midland, Texas a couple weeks ago. I stopped into the Goodwill there. I got so many great things. I got a cat backpack.
You get bored in Texas, honestly. I mean, are you just like, what am I doing here in Texas sometimes?
No,
Never?
no,
Wow,
no.
that's incredible.
I mean, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, Darun. I think like it's also made me, I think in LA too, we're always like being in the entertainment industry, you're like chasing youth or you're chasing something. You don't even know what you're chasing sometimes. And coming here, I'm like, oh, I can rest. I can calm down. I don't need to chase anything. I don't have to look young, stay young. I don't like, I can just exist. And that's been really healthy for me
Wow.
emotionally.
That's because I was living in Florida and I'd get like, God, I need more. I need more stimulation for some reason. I think I'm just like a coke addict or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
and then it drives you crazy, but like, it's like this yin and yang, like necessary evil. It's weird. Like, it makes you addicted to shit out here. Like that stimuli.
yeah,
You know what I
you're
do?
right.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I don't be right, but like, you know, what I'll do. I'll go to this coffee shop like next door, and it's like literally like $5, $6 for a coffee. Wasting so much money going there. I've been going there for years. People are like, why do you go there? I'm like, I'm going there just to like be part of the energy of like this coffee shop and just talk to people and just, it's almost like a jolt of like my personality because otherwise I'm just secluded like I don't know, Henry, what's his name? That millionaire guy, billionaire who like hang out. He wouldn't come out of his room, he'd, like slip notes. What's his name? I forget. The guy in
I
his
don't
in
know.
the 20s. Um, it'll come to me later. But I feel like that sometimes where I'm just like secluded. So when I leave my place, so that's why I feel like LA, it's like general, like wherever you go, you're always like just in this like shitstorm.
LA very much has that. And I think, I'm a mom and I'm very busy with my kids
Oh,
and
right.
I'm a wife and I have all these things I need to do for the house and the kids and work that I feel like I could even go slower and more. Like I live in a pretty like fun little town in Texas. I almost feel like I can move to the countryside and live on a ranch at this point. Like
Or
mentally,
or the North Pole.
huh?
Or the North Pole.
Or the North Pole. Do you know people are not allowed to fly over the North and South Pole? You'll get shot down out of the sky.
No, I don't know that.
Yeah, we're not allowed to know what's there.
See, I don't think people realize that Shazia has this whole conspiracy side of
What?
experience and living. See, people don't know. This is a side I think fans would love to know, that she's actually just some wacko in Texas.
Wow. Maybe. Yeah, I have a conspiracy side. I have an open mind and I
Right.
have a curious mind. And so I'm open to anything that someone sends me to be like, okay, well, let's check this. Let's see. Someone told me, hey, they're doing crazy things in the North and South Pole. I was like, come on, let me check it out. I'll get a flight up there. And no, I mean, like, I don't know what they're doing, but I know that people can't go up there. Like, you have to have super high government clearance, like Antarctica. Uh, I know there's like random cruises that go there and take people there, but like generally speaking, you can't just go.
Did you ever go to what is that? Silo, Roswell? And isn't there what is it?
That's in New Mexico.
Mexico?
No. Why would I go there?
I don't know. It was when you were near LA, like you can just drive up there and just see
No,
it.
I used to go to the Integratron, which is those two NASA scientists that discovered the vortex that was happening in Joshua Tree, and they built a dome over it. And it's like a naturally occurring vortex, and they do like sound baths and yoga classes and hippy dippy retreat things there from my old days of being super into that stuff. But that place is neat.
Did you go by yourself or with like a boyfriend?
I went with my husband.
Your husband? You were like, hey, let's go on a trip to
Yeah,
Integratron.
yeah.
Like, I'd rather go to Vegas. You're like, nope.
No, we're doing a sound bath.
Oh my God. See, this is why I can't be in a relationship. I swear to God. If a girl said that to me, we have to go take a sound bath in Integratron, I'd be like, all right, there's the door. Have fun. I'm gonna go.
Gosh, Tarun, 1 week later, you're gonna be there calling me, being like, dude, I should have done this sooner.
I don't even know what a sound bath is. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't know what that means.
It's the singing bowls where there's a
Oh, yeah, I know what
frequency
that is.
created, like certain gigahertz, like kind of mess with your brain waves in different ways. Did you watch The World We Left Behind, that new movie?
No, it's on my queue of movies to watch.
Oh, we can't talk about it. Okay. But
What?
that's
No, no, I'm kidding. It's on my queue at all. I don't even know what that is. What is it?
Oh, it's that movie about where the grid goes down and they start blasting this
Oh, I did see it with Julia Roberts.
yeah, and they blast that frequency sound that starts making everyone sick.
I did see it. I did see. I didn't know what the title of that movie was. I just started watching it.
Yeah, that's scary. That could be real. That could legit happen.
If it does happen, I just want to be one of the. I just want to die early. I don't want to be survivor.
You don't have a bunker. You're not trying to
No
like
bunker. Yeah, I
race
know.
life.
I have like 3 bottled waters in my apartment. I've got a box of Cheerios.
You're not a prepper. You're not
Oh,
prepared. Me neither.
see, but I feel like Texas is better suited to for like disasters like that. I honestly feel like that people in like rural states are just better off. Like know how to they're more in tune with life versus like if something goes down here, I'm gonna go to get a biscotti at the coffee shop, like there's no biscotti. This is
You're
still
gonna, yeah, you would be the first to go because you're worried about the biscotti at your coffee shop. You don't have to worry. I'm pretty sure you'd be in
yeah,
the first round of people. Yeah.
yeah. My cat allergies. I wear glasses sometimes, so like I'm just handicapped.
Yeah. If you can be killed by being in the same room as a cat, yeah, I don't know that we need your your lineage to continue. Sorry, Tharun.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's probably not going to continue at this rate, anyways. But there's a book called The Road. You should really check it out, and it's really about that about these a father and son, and they're trying to survive. And it's literally like this dystopian life.
I like those movies. I'm like, wait, what? What would I do in that situation? Like, I would turn into a bad ASS, and then I would defend my family.
I
And
see. Like seriously, I do think like this is where like family is important because you would do anything to keep your kids alive, right? I mean, so
Everything is for my kids. It's not for me. My
yeah,
whole world exists now for my children.
yes, that's where we're different because like there's nothing for me to live for essentially. So you actually have your kids to, go out and forage berries and stuff, like
I will forage berries. Yes,
and
all
get
day long. I
and,
do.
and hunt soap and shampoo so they're clean.
Yeah, I can make that stuff. I think it's important to know how to survive without having to buy things at a store.
You could really do that, honestly. You could survive without buying things at a store.
I mean, if I was equipped, if I lived on my ranch, and I had chickens and I had goats and I had some cows, so I knew how to make, then I can make butter, I can make soap, I can make food. If I like what
Can you start a fire?
with the
Without-
right tools, with sticks, I think I could maybe with like a prism or a mirror and maybe paper.
It's not that. Have you ever started a fire with a prism? This isn't a TV show, Shazia.
I personally have not, but I
Yeah.
think if I needed to and it was a dire situation, I would figure it out. I think I could figure anything out if the situation was right, don't you?
No, I did this thing called Outward Bound in high school where they send you in to woods with like a bunch of kids to like camp during wintertime.
Called your mom the first day.
Hmm? No, so I didn't do that. I couldn't. There was no cell phones back then. I'm that old. But they give you like rations of food, right? So you go out with like groups of seven, right? And you start out with like, well, the whole junior class went out and they break you up into groups of seven and you have food. And I remember I stole more food from my group just because I was like, I'm not gonna you spend 3 days by yourself, like in the woods. And you gotta like tie flags up outside your tree to make sure you're alive so people can like check up on you. And I was going crazy. I was like, and it was like probably pretty easy, but it was like February. It was really cold. And I just remember thinking, man, I am not cut out for this. This is horrible.
Wait, how old were you?
16.
That's really neat that you got to do that at 16.
Oh, I'm very spoiled.
I mean, I think that should be a requirement.
You can still do it. I mean, look, you can do it tomorrow. Go in the middle of the woods tomorrow with some peanut butter and some flags.
No, not me. I
No,
think that children could learn a lot from just just a little reality check of like, look
yeah.
at all the amazing things you have around you and how comfortable your life is and be grateful for the small things. I think that, what's funny is I was watching Skater Girl, which is a Bollywood film. Have you seen it on Netflix?
It's on my queue
It's
after.
really, really good.
Yeah.
And my youngest daughter, who's 10, because they were showing a village in India in Rajasthan that's very poor.
Mm.
And she's watching it, and in the first scene, the girl pulls up in a car, and Aurora's like, "Mommy, they had cars back then." I said, "Back then, this is right now. People
Oh,
live like this right now. This isn't olden times. There are people who are very poor. You are such a lucky little girl. Like you have no idea what other people are going through." And so I realized in that moment that I need to show her how other people live so she could be more grateful for what she has. I
maybe.
think sending them out in the woods for 3 days and being like, food doesn't come from a grocery store. It comes from earth. Someone is picking these berries. Someone like it's important. I've only taken them to the ice cream factory out here. They're like, oh wow, ice cream is made like this. I'm like, wow, I need to show them way more.
Send them to Rajasthan for a couple weeks.
Yeah, maybe not. But I would love to live on a ranch or a farm.
Really?
I would.
I
I
think you're,
would.
I think you're saying some stuff that in reality it might not be. I'm telling you, I was the same way. And look, being serious, like I'm always like, I'm gonna move to Wisconsin or some log cabin and just write. And then when I move there, I'm like, I'm bored out of my mind. Again, I need like stimuli. Even though I'm kind of
You
like,
need a person with you, Tarun. That's what you need. You need a homie or a homegirl.
oh, me. It's so funny. You go crazy. Like that's why people were getting divorced during COVID, you know, but they were like secluded with their significant other. Like you need other people than just your homemate and home girl.
Yeah, you need a tribe.
Yeah, tribe. Like
And when I say I want to move to a farm, I mean I want to move to a community of people who have like, that are like-minded, that have other farms where maybe I have the bees, and they have the whatever, the quails, and the other person has so we're like, what is it? Like a homestead community.
a cult.
I wasn't gonna say that, but I think maybe that it could be similar to what you're just what you're saying in description, but no, not a cult.
You described Heaven's Gate. Remember those people? They like are wearing like Nikes and they like all killed themselves.
Oh, in San Diego?
Oh, in like Texas. Wasn't it in Texas?
No, I think you're thinking of the Waco, Texas ones. Were they Heaven's Gate?
David Koresh, is that his name?
I don't know enough, but yes, that was in Waco, Texas. I've read some weird stuff about that.
See, this is where Texas gets a blemish. And again, I'm not judging Texas, but like so much weird shit has happened in Texas, like cult stuff and
Well, look at the size of Texas. It's
yeah.
the largest piece of land in America. So it's going to have a lot more things happening. And, it's like China being. And one of my daughters said, "Oh, Mom, do you know that Mandarin is the number one most spoken language in the world?" I'm like, yeah, because it's also where the most amount of people live in the world. So stats have, there's different factors that go into it that you got to look at. You can't just take this stat at face value. Like, is there weird stuff happening in Texas? Well, yeah, it's just weird stuff happening everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but that's not to say, I did a job up in Midland, Texas, and it took me 8 hours to get to it.
Mm.
8 hours.
Mm.
And I was still in Texas, in the middle of Texas. Like, that's how big Texas is.
Yeah, I'm not faulting it. I think and anybody who joins a cult, I kind of get it. You know, at some point you're like, let me just change up my life a bit. And even if you join a cult for even like a few months, you can always get out of there.
I think humans that join cults or gangs are looking for family. We're tribal in nature. We want people around us. So when we feel lonely, we're subject to falling into a gang or a cult because we want to belong somewhere. So
It's kind of like doing a podcast.
yeah,
We invite people into our audio cult.
our audio cult, so we can feel like we belong. I do feel like I said on one of our last podcasts that I do feel creatively alone out here sometimes. We're in LA, there's actors everywhere and there's storytellers everywhere. And over here, it's like, oh, where did everybody go?
Let's end on that. That's a nice note. Like, if you want to be part of our family, please watch us and come back and watch. Shazia, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, but I want to know if someone has the answer to the igloo.
Guys, please let us know. Leave in the comments or just drop us the line and we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Shaz.
Yeah.